I have worked with organizations to carry out a complex initiative and be a part of it that's known as change management. What I found out was that having worked with several such organizations and seen them go about it, I saw that it's largely two things. You know, one is an external change which happened, an external, and its impact was not gauged earlier, and that has come and hit the organization hard now, and as a result of it, it's striving to cope up. Or the other thing is that there are new ways of doing business which have come out, and the organization was not responsive enough, and now they are trying to do a catch-up game. I've been thinking a lot about these things, and I just couldn't fathom as to why smart organizations, big organizations, dynamic organizations, organizations which have been extremely successful at some point of time, have been unable to understand these changes, and very often get caught in and go bankrupt. Some of the organizations which undertake these complex change management programs go through a lot of and want to get their organization back on track and make it competitive. Go through a lot of interesting processes. Some of them are related to IT processes. Some of them are related to the re-engineering of existing processes. A lot of them are related to the roles and responsibilities of the existing force and how the new thing would look like. It's linked to the reskilling of manpower, and at the end, it's all a big hope and a new way of doing business, which they hope is new way of doing business, which they will hope will produce the results that they are looking for. Now, these complex change management initiatives are driven with the branding around it. They are named, and there are global initiatives across. Let me try to explain this with two live examples of which I have been a part of. One is the banking sector and how the public sector banks responded to the banking challenge in India, the banking sector changes when the private sector came in. And the second was the Indian manufacturing industry, and what I saw and how things were in that particular organization where I worked with at length, and how they coped up with the China challenge. So when the public sector banks were faced by the deregulation happened and private sector banks came up, there was a lot of impact. So the private sector banks from the world core were focusing on efficiency, and they would implement core banking systems and offer a lot of online benefits to the customers. So a customer really need not go to the branch or anything. He could see what his account status was, and a lot of automatic teller machines which would dispense the cash depending on when the customer wanted it, and that too, a lot of these machines were installed right at the customer premises in large corporations, and so there was a lot of ease of banking which they brought in. Earlier, when the public sector banks were there, customer would normally have to go stand in the queue for a long time and then be able to get the service that he's asking for. The public sector banks had to match this level of efficiency and effectiveness, and they went on. They lost the steam, and the largest bank in India, public sector bank in India, when it saw its margins dipping and market share dipping substantially, and market cap going down from lesser than a private sector bank, they then took up the challenge and reorganized themselves, and a complex change initiative was implemented, as a result of which the bank did turn around, and there was a lot of efficiency gain. And so what, while all the existing, one of the things was, while the branch was the key point for customer relationship earlier, it became a sales point, and a lot of back office transactions were put in place, which was a total change in the way the bank used to work. However, this was a very painful process, and a lot of new ways had to be implemented at work. Another such thing which I have witnessed is the Indian manufacturing organizations. When the trade with China eased, and we saw a lot of Chinese products flooding the Indian market, it was interesting to see how Chinese manufacturing units could produce uh, complex as well as simple products, and sell it in India at uh, sell in India and at much cheaper prices. So while the policies of the Chinese government and dumping and anti-dumping and all those things were one side of the story, but when I worked with a lot of Indian manufacturing companies, I did see a lot of inefficiency. I did see that there was poor inventory management. I did see that there was poor workforce ethics. People would not work the way they are supposed to work. I did see that there was inefficient working capital management, and I did see that people who were in senior roles were doing the jobs of lower roles. So net to net, it was absolute inefficiency in the way things were going on. So when the Indian manufacturing system, when they were challenged by the efficiency of the Chinese systems, the organizations responded by asking the government to impose duties and anti-dumping and all, rather than looking at the way they were functioning. I think one of the most important things is that organizations must be aware of what's happening in the external world, what are the external changes, as we saw in the manufacturing sector. The external changes of letting China enter the Indian market created a lot of turbulence, and the organizations, the Indian organizations which survived this are the ones who have really redesigned the way they do business. And the other is that if there are new ways of doing business, one should not be caught sleeping. They have to be active, and they have to be able to constantly change their processes so that they are not caught up in this game. So whenever I hear of any change management initiative being taken up, what goes at the back of my mind is that why did the organization need a change management at the first stage? I also have been a part of an organization where there have been 3 CRM systems involved, implemented till date, and not one of them have been successful. So therefore there is a resulting loss of money and effort, and no customer gain. Now, if this is the way things work in certain organizations, how can one then say that they have been caught because of the policies of the government? The fact is that if organizations are effective, efficient, and aligned to the internally as well as to external change which is happening, and are aware of what's happening, and are willing to constantly redesign and reinvent themselves to be totally aligned, and take benefit of the changing scenarios, those organizations would not ever require a change management initiative to be undertaking. The fact that a change management initiative is going on shows that the organization has been caught sleeping somewhere.